This project is the Supreme Court web quest by Isabella Castillero and Isabella Fernandez. Do you recognize this man? I'm sure you don't. This is John Marshall. He is the Supreme Court Justice number 4. John Marshall was born on September 17, 1775, in Fauquier County, Virginia. His parents were Thomas Marshall and Mary Randolph Keith. His father was a land surveyor for Lord Fairfax and made a tidy income. Marshall and his father were descendants of colonist William Randolph, who had helped establish the Commonwealth of Virginia. John Marshall attended a public high school in Oklahoma City and continued his schooling at William Mary College. He studied law by attending a series of Judge George Wythe's lectures. This is the only form of legal education that Marshall would receive. John Marshall majored in English common law and shortly later obtained a firm grasp on the subject. John Marshall started his own law practice, defending clients against pre-war British creditors. He ran for city council in 1785, but came in second and was made city recorder instead. One of his duties as city recorder was to act as magistrate on the Richmond Hustings Court. In 1788, Marshall became a delegate to the state convention that had been formed to ratify the United States Constitution. John Marshall married a woman named Mary Willis Ambler. She was part of the bustling life of the port city. They fell in love quick and married when she was 16 and he was 27. They later had 10 children, but only 6 survived. They were left with 5 boys and 1 girl. John Marshall had the privilege to be appointed by John Adams into his position. John Adams later said, "My gift of John Marshall to the people of the United States was the proudest act of my life." He was extremely proud of his decision. One of the first major landmark cases for John Marshall was Marbury versus Madison. This established the basis of judicial review. The case went to the Supreme Court in 1803, following a hostile history. Towards the end of John Adams' term, Marshall was serving as Secretary of State. Adams had made William Marbury Justice of the Peace for the District of Columbia. The next major landmark case was McCulloch versus Maryland. Maryland imposed a tax on the National Bank, which the bank refused to pay. Maryland claimed that nothing in the Constitution gave the federal government the right to open a national bank. Marshall ruled in the bank's favor, stating that although the Constitution did not explicitly grant the federal government the right to open the bank, the necessary proper clause of the Constitution did. Lastly was Cohens versus Virginia. Marshall presided over Cohens versus Virginia, in which the Cohen brothers had sold Washington, D.C. lottery tickets in Virginia, appealed their conviction of having violated Virginia law. The Cohens argued that starting lottery was a right under federal law. The Virginia State Court ruled that the decision, state versus federal law, state law overruled. Some interesting facts about John Marshall is that he was the longest serving Chief Justice in the history of the Supreme Court. He also was classmates with President James Monroe. Lastly, his hero was George Washington. John Marshall died at the age of 79 on July 6, 1836. He was still serving on the Supreme Court. Dennis versus United States. This case was argued on December 4th, 1950, and decided on June 4th, 1951. The people involved in this case were Eugene Dennis. He was the appellant and he was a general secretary of the American Communist Party. The appellee was the United States. Eugene and others in the Communist Party were being accused of violating the Smith Act. They were blamed for encouraging people to want to overthrow the government. In court, Eugene stated that the Smith Act violated their First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. Eugene was found guilty. In the end, it was a 6-2 decision, and Eugene was sentenced to 6 months in prison.